I have several announcements really more along the line of some of the things that we're doing to change the organization, to really automate what it is that we do, to allow us to successfully go through succession planning and to do that in a way that allows us, as I indicated, to be more effective. One of the key people that has helped us to do that, basically we brought Andy McQuaid on to really help us structure things, help us put things in place and automate a lot of the things that we do. Andy, stand up. I know you don't want me to do this, but stand up, Andy.
I'm here.
See? Okay, so over the past 3-4 years, we've looked at some of the things that we could do differently so that as an organization we can be more effective. And yes, that is the reason why we brought Andy in. One of the real reasons we brought him in was because we were struggling to get it done in a timely way and getting it done in a way that would truly represent change in the right direction so that we could be more effective. As leaders of the organization, one of our most important things that we do is to make sure that we have succession planning in place. As the president of our organization, that's one of my number one tasks. Because when I'm gone, the organization should continue. That's one of my key roles and responsibilities. So I know a lot of people are aware of it, but I want to make sure that I mention it now and go through some of the changes that we're putting in place. As you probably know, Susan Holman, I consider her one of the best friends that I have, okay? Over the last 10 years, she's worked to make this organization successful. She's retiring from Freedom First, and she was the secretary and treasurer, and did almost everything else you can think about to make us successful. And knew when to tell Joe and I to shut up. So, so I miss her already. And as I said before, so what are some of the things that we're doing? We've actually going to put in place a couple of people in some new positions. And how many people read the newsletter today? That came out yesterday. It came out, yeah, it came out Wednesday, right? And so one of the things that we did was we actually looked at how we could do things different, and we actually brought on to help us a group of marketing folks that's pretty good at what they do. And so that's the specialized marketing group that's located in downtown Rochester. So they generated the newsletter that you see with input from us, primarily Andy. And Paul happens to be here, and Paul is one of the key people at that organization. Paul, stand up. And don't tell me you're not going to stand up either. Stand up. So there are a couple of announcements that I need to make sure that people are aware of. And I want people to welcome Dee Thompson. And Dee has been associated with the organization, I don't know, for at least the last 8 years or so. And anybody who's been at the picnic know that me as an individual, I try to keep my hands into everything. And at the picnic, I get an opportunity to say, the kitchen belongs to Dee. I've done a lot of the cooking, and you ask Dee, she's the person who's in control. And she'll tell me, Leon, you don't go in the kitchen now. And I don't go in the kitchen because Dee's in control. Dee is going to be coming on, and she's going to be helping us as an organization because she's going to be our administrative assistant. And so that's somewhat of a new role, but basically it allows us to operate more effectively, more efficiently, having someone who can do some of the things offline that for us it creates a lot of activity that we don't have time to do, and Dee can take care of it. Let me just put it just straightforward that way. So welcome, Dee. Dee's in the back there. She was the person who signed you in. Two other announcements. Did Jacob get here?
I don't think he's here yet.
So one of the things that we did was we started to look for folks that we felt a couple of things. I'll tell you what basically my criteria was. It was, of course, highly capable. The person needs to be capable, if nothing else, okay? And then the other piece is, if you look at the majority of the people in the room, most of the folks are not. I have this thing that God gave me. I look a little bit younger than I really am, okay? But we have a lot of folks in the organization that are older, and what we want to do is we want to bring in some new blood, some younger folks, and we want to have those folks begin to provide input around leadership and how things can be done, and to have a different perspective. It doesn't mean that what we do is right or wrong necessarily, but it does mean that somebody, when they mention TikTok, they know what the heck it is, okay? So it's just easier if you're talking to someone in your same age group to be able to understand how things work. And we want to make that change and that modification where the vast majority of the organization is on, let's just say older folks, because otherwise I'm going to get myself in trouble. Okay, and so to that end, I found a person with the help of the rest of the, if I say I, recognize that fundamentally, I feel that individuals don't do anything by themselves. There's one person that I feel very highly about, and that was my college math teacher. And I went to a little school at college, Texas Southern University, and what happened was I had the same math teacher for a lot of my classes. And his common comment was, you do nothing in this world by yourself. You do it with the help of someone else, even if you don't know it. It was God, okay? So you just don't do things by yourself. And so we went through a list of people, Andy, Joe, Susan, myself, and said, okay, here are the people that fit our criteria that we feel are highly capable. Now I know I'm going a little bit over time and getting into a little bit more detail, but I think it's important that you know, because it is a part of what is necessary for our organization to be effective. And so the person that we actually came up with to be the secretary is a person by the name of Jacob Thorpe. And Jacob, he'll be walking through the door here in a few minutes, but he highly capable from a real estate investing standpoint. He's been doing it with his company called Gray Capital, where he's the asset manager. He's also the head of, he's one of the leaders. Yeah, he just walked in. See, he was only about 15 seconds too late, but to be right on note with what I was saying. But, you know, basically, if you look at the Rochester coalition of Rochester Housing Coalition, let me get it correct here. He's helping to lead that group. He's helping to do a lot of the leadership associated with Under One Roof. So tying him into our organization makes a lot of sense. So I want everybody to welcome Jacob as the new secretary for Freedom First Real Estate Investment Association.
Your timing is impeccable. And he's also a veteran.
Oh, yes.
Thanks for your service, buddy.
That's right. I'll sit with Andy.
Okay, and then if you look at the way the organization is structured, we have officers and we also have board members. In some cases, officers also serve as board members, and we wanted to change that up a fair amount. We wanted to add more board members, and we will be adding even to after tonight. Let me put it that way. We'll still be continuing to add folks. The person I want to recognize is a person by the name of Beth Short. How many people know Beth? So hopefully, Pat, you didn't raise your hand. Okay, so I'm gonna get to the point in just a second here. Okay, he didn't raise his hand, and actually it's Beth and Carl Weeks that run the housing provider meeting on the fourth Thursday of the month, and that allows people to do basically in-depth questions and answers around things associated with housing providers. And Pat Gallagher and a person by the name of Bob Napier, who is one of the founders of the organization, actually do the second Thursday of the month, where it's in the morning. Beth and Carl's meeting is actually in the evening, and Beth is gonna continue in that role, but she's also going to be a board of director. So thanks to Beth. Give her a round. She's not here, but give her a round of applause, please. The holiday party which is my last item on the list, is going to be on December 10th. It's going to start at 6 p.m. and it's going to end at 9. And it's a members-only event. But I have this value proposition that I give the people when you look at the membership. The membership is $169 a year if you're an individual member, $219 if you are basically a partnership. And then if you decide you want to be a vendor member, then it's like $399 or something along those lines. But what I say to folks is, it's a no-brainer. You know, it's just the numbers. Okay, just go through the numbers. We have 2 events that even if you don't like real estate, you get into it and you say, well, this is not the thing for me. I've spent my $169. If you come to just a holiday party or just a picnic, at either one of those, you can come as a member and you can bring a guest. So for the holiday party that's coming up, it's going to be right here. You can come and you can bring a guest. And the food in the way of the shrimp are unbelievable. Oh, they're just dynamite. Oh boy, yeah. And then you have all the things that go along with it. We do not pay for your drinks, but the food is really great. So tell me, where are you going to go? And you're going to have someone that's going to come with you, and you and your significant other, and you're going to be able to, for $169, do that. Okay, I'm not talking about McDonald's. Okay, this is something a little bit more formal than that. And we do a similar thing with the holiday party. I'm sorry, with the picnic, and the picnic is in August, and normally the second week in August, and it's again the same sort of thing. The only thing different there is you don't have to really pay for your own drinks, because we provide beer and wine and those sorts of things. So, in other words, I'm looking for everyone to sign up. If you are on the fence about being a member, then now's the time for you to actually sign up, and then you can come and you know that your money has been well spent, because I just gave you the value proposition. We have as our key speaker a person by the name of Earl McCray. He stood up before because he was the veteran in the room. And Earl is a maths teacher in the city school district. And he's also a real estate investor. And he's been doing real estate investing for just a few years. And what we want to do is to actually have Earl give you sort of his experience, if you will, around what he's went through and how he's continuing to grow as a real estate investor. So he's going to go through a couple of the things that he's done and a couple of the specific things that he has on the horizon that he's going to be doing. And so for the folks who were at the meeting that we had here in September where we had Bob Taylor was a guy who worked at Kodak. He left Kodak and then he immediately went into real estate investing, and he ended up with like 110 units. And so, he did it over like a 10-year time period. And so his journey in real estate is a lot different than what Earl's journey is up to this point. But it gives you an understanding of, if you were able to see both of them, you would have an understanding of how both individuals, their career and what they're doing is a little bit different. But it allows you to make that comparison and allows you to look at what Earl is going to be doing and how he's going to be moving forward as a real estate investor. So it's sort of an evolutionary thing, if you will. So without further ado, I'm going to let the keynote speaker take over.
Thank you.
And Mr.
I'm all
Earl
mic'd up.
McCray.
All right. Thanks
Thank
a lot,
you,
Leon.
sir.
Appreciate it, man. Got it.
I don't know what you need the mic.
No, I got a mic right here.
Okay, well, that's for the recording.
Well, if you guys want me to use both mics, I'll do whatever the audience wants. All right, cool. Let me get my timer. So being a teacher, everything is, time blocked, and so no different.
So this is to change the slides.
Okay.
Okay, so that should.
Okay. Cool.
So it's just that button right there.
Nice. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right. So, real quick. So, teachers didn't have to work today. When my alarm went off at 4 and I attempted to get up, my wife shut it down. And so listen, the reason that my alarm goes off at 4 every day is because when the school day ends, for me, all I'm thinking is real estate. Like literally, the kids get on the bus, and as soon as they're on the bus, I get my laptop out and I'm on Zillow. I'm thinking real estate. So unfortunately, as a teacher, I think we got a couple teachers in the building, right? As a teacher, your job rarely ends when the kids leave. So 4 o'clock, I'm generally grading papers, just to be 100% honest. Because everything I'm supposed to do as a teacher, I'm still doing, but I don't think teacher stuff anymore. So, I'm a retired vet, 10 years in the military. Teaching is my second career. I love teaching, but at the end of the day, I was telling one person that real estate is our retirement. It's our parachute. And it's an interesting thing because for me, I had an opportunity when I was 19 years old to really get knee deep into real estate. But my dad was a traditional real estate guy. What I mean is he had 30 units. He had tenants that didn't pay. I would go on a weekend and we'd take 3 or 4 doors off a property because they hadn't paid. Back then you could. You can't do that anymore. So and my dad would go to collect the rent, and he had women, greeting them in the negligee because they didn't want to pay.
So
So like at 19 and 20, like that's what I thought real estate was. I didn't know there were so many other places that you could go in real estate. And so I had to go through my military experience, had to go through 15 years of being a teacher to like say, oh my God, why did I hit 50 and do what I could have done when I was at 20? So my journey is a little different. It's definitely a little different. Why you should listen to me, guys, I'm gonna tell you straight up. I got two audiences in the room. My first audience is to you senior guys. You guys have been around the block for a while and know a little something. I'm gonna be very upfront with you. Younger people in the game are intimidated of you. And we're not naturally gonna come up to you and say, Andy, or Jacob, we're not gonna do that. But if you're inviting and you're open, and like my buddy Joe, if you say, hey buddy, whatever you need, give me a call. And he takes my call at 6 a.m., which is crazy. Man, this place is gonna blow up as an organization because everything is based on new blood. And my other audience is people are just checking us out for the first time. A couple people raised their hand. This was their first or second meeting. Yo, this is the place to be. These folks not only have knowledge, but more importantly than knowledge, they got wisdom. Knowledge is just book facts. Wisdom is experience-based. And when you tie knowledge and new energy together, man, our organization will blow up numerically. So to jump right into the first thing I want to share with you is my presentation is just going to be broken down into a couple key things. You know, I want to talk about my wins. I want to talk about my losses. I want to talk to you guys about my why. And I also want to talk to you guys about, you know, how I started just being wholesale driven, which is a strategy for those that don't know alternative ways of doing real estate, to now I'm doing more creative things like lease options and like short-term rentals. And how a lot of it, what you do is based on understanding the cycles in the real estate industry. Because if you can understand cycles, you'll make money no matter where we are. But you gotta really know the cycles. And then I'm gonna open it up from some Q&A, and I have a resource page that I will email out to you, and you know, we'll have a great time, I think. So there's my lovely wife. These are the three people that make me get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. My wife, she's a social worker. She is a giver. She's not really material driven, so she's a little bit uptight that I am. So, you know, a lot of things I was just sharing, you know, a lot of times when I'm talking to my wife, she's here and I'm here. We don't ever connect, but that's okay because she understands that a lot of things that I'm doing is really setting my kids up. It's more about legacy. And you have the ability as a real estate investor to leave something behind when you're not. And there's very few things that work that way. So really, you know, let's be proud of the industry that we're in. So let's talk about it. My first opportunity of jumping into real estate, I knew I did not want to do the traditional fix and flips, tenants, toilets, and termites, because I'd seen my dad do it. But I also knew that by hook or crook, I wanted to get in. So there's this concept called wholesaling that I'm gonna talk about. And I got so engrossed in wholesaling, I started a podcast. And I found anybody and everybody that would talk to me on camera to come on my podcast. So I want to thank Leon for jumping on. I want to thank Joe for jumping on. Appreciate you. I want to thank you, Jacob, and Kayla. They jumped on. And, you know, so we had an audience of newbie investors And we basically always said that wholesaling is the gateway drug into real estate. So I've talked to people who've done syndications of 100 and 200 plus apartment buildings. I've talked to people who in Atlanta, Georgia, this guy, he basically uses creative financing to buy, 6 and 7 properties a week. So there's just so much knowledge that's available. And, during that whole process, I'll be very honest with you, I started to realize, man, there's some really cool things about the real estate game that I never knew. And so it allowed me to kind of get beyond just wholesaling is, the gateway, but I wanted to do a whole bunch of other stuff. Because one thing I didn't tell you is this, beyond my kids and my wife, I'm really a community guy. And so what my wife, she has been like really, really working with people who are in homelessness situations, specifically people who are in adoption or foster care. And statistically, most young people that age out of foster care at 17 or 18 years old, 70% chance of prostitution, like a 60% chance of going back. If they had like a juvenile police record, they absolutely are going to have some issues with the law. So we want to have the resources available so that we can either connect with an organization that's already addressing that population, or we want to create a foundation ourselves, so that these people who weren't blessed with two caring, not that you have to have two caring parents, but my point is they weren't blessed with the foundation that most of us take for granted, so they can get a second chance. So that's really near and dear to me. So real estate is the way that's going to all happen. So we had a really successful run with the podcast, 30 plus episodes, but I decided I didn't know enough, and I needed to get some mentors. So I went out, and I have 3 mentors. I have a mentor who basically, and young people, new people, I got to say this to you. As much as I loved the fact that Joe will take a call from me at 6 o'clock in the morning, I don't abuse that relationship. So if you find someone who's in a skill set and has some knowledge that you want, you better be able to bring them value before you take their time. And if you can't take their time and bring them no value, you better be paying tuition. So I actually pay tuition to 3 mentors that are teaching me aspects about real estate investing that I don't know. So that's very important. Okay, so we talked about my why. All right, so like everything else, guys, how many people are married? Okay, all right, so I don't want to be offensive, but on your marriage night, there's some people that went into that bedroom and they were very confident because they had some experience. And there were people like me that, didn't have a lot of experience. I hope I'm doing it right. And well, the bottom line is this. Anytime you do something for the first time, you're probably going to be bad before you get good. So me doing it for the first time. So look, on my first wholesale deal that I sold to a member of REIA, it took 5 months for me to close it. And between me and my 3 partners at the time, we made $50 each. $50 each, all right? But we were learning it. We were failing forward, all right? My next deal, closed in 3 months. New York State takes a long time to close, by the way, all right? We made $558. And then, I finally had a deal close in under 3 months, and I made $5,000, and I was excited about it. I was like, this thing does work. But the point is, you're gonna, the longer you stay at something, you're gonna get better at it. And that's the whole point of finding people in your lane. And you gotta really figure out what you wanna do. Finding people in your lane that you can work with, that can help invest in you, and you can grow and helping them in their operation as well. So this summer, I told you I have a mentor that is in Buffalo that all of a sudden, hey, everybody, I'm gonna teach you about short-term rentals. Okay, I had no interest in short-term rentals, but I wanna learn. And so, before I knew it, we had 2 in Buffalo, 2 in Houston, and 1 in Orlando. And I'm, a part of principal parties in the Buffalo group. And then I got involved with another team member, and we have an Airbnb in Rochester now. So that is now something that I'm learning about. I haven't arrived, but I'm not a novice anymore either. So another piece that I wanted to learn about, because I'm going to talk to you guys about the market cycles, about lease options. Mr. Spears is not here, but he is a master at rent-to-own property. And if you have that under your belt, you will never overpay for a property again. I was telling Joe just a minute ago, me and my wife are trying to buy a ranch with 2 acres. So if anybody knows anybody that knows somebody, let me know. All right, looking for 2 acres. Every bid, we put in going on 7 bids to this point. We've all been outbid. Is this a crazy market or what? If you're a fix and flipper, this is honeymoon season for you. Because what I'm being told is that people are spending up to $50,000 over the asking price. Like, I'm not a retail buyer. I'm not gonna do that. But that's the market that we're in. So you gotta understand the market cycle. Okay, so wholesaling, for those who had never heard of wholesaling before, raise your hand, because I want to know how fast I can go. All right, so I can go a little faster. So we've all heard of wholesaling. What we're basically doing is we're flipping contracts. I know that we have people here in the audience that want off-market property for 60 to 70 cents on a dollar. Okay? Well, I'm going to go find it for you. I'm going to find someone who needs to get rid of a distressed property. And why am I doing it? Because I can get into the game with little or no money down. Okay? It doesn't cost a lot for me to get in my car and look for vacant houses. And fun fact, my first 5 deals were all vacant houses. Just saying. All right? Who's involved in the deal? You got to have someone who is going to help you with marketing. I've done it all. I've done text blast. I've done cold calling. I've done driving for dollars. The only thing I haven't mastered is I don't have the Joe LaBarbera system where attorneys call me. When I can get an attorney to call me, that will be a beautiful thing. But I'm going to get there. All right? Then you have sellers. Now, Joe, am I in the right ballpark? This is generally a situation where a seller is selling because of the 4 Ds. They're either being downsized, they got a death in the family, and maybe they inherited the property. Got 2 properties now. Divorce, relocation. I got a deal because someone relocated. And then the end buyer. That's you guys who are in fixers and flippers. That's you guys that are buy and hold. Okay? That's why by the time that you guys leave today, I will have every one of your numbers in my Rolodex. Because I will be wholesaling forever. I love wholesaling. All right? However, wholesaling has a opportunity where it's not always feasible. Why do I say that? Well, guys, this is a seller's market. All right, I'm not sure if you guys follow this particular person. He's a big wholesaler down in, I think, Durham, North Carolina. He's like the Joe LaBarbera of North Carolina. But the bottom like this, he basically, his name is Max Maxwell. I'm not sure if you guys have heard of him. He did a video, he talked about making money in the 4 cycles of real estate. The recovery cycle, the expansion cycle, the hypersupply cycle, and the recession cycle. And I thought it was really interesting because I had never heard this. In recovery, people are really happy. Why? Because real estate is very, very inexpensive. Unemployment is high, foreclosures are high, and if you're a buy and hold investor and you got bank, you can collect a lot of inventory very quickly. Wholesalers love this particular cycle. All right? 60 cents on the dollar, man, I could get you 50 cents on the dollar. All right? Then the next cycle is called expansion. Unemployment goes down. Home prices and rents go, we like that, right? But the inventory goes down as well. So when the inventory goes down, the demand goes crazy. That's why you got a retail buyer that will buy a property 50 grand over asking price, no inspection, sight unseen, and they're willing to pay the difference between what the property assessed at and what they're actually paying the seller. As investors, I hope we never do that. But that's the difference between an investor mindset and a retail buyer. All right? But you investors, man, get paid, man. This is the time. Any unperforming assets, put it on the market and let some sucker buy it. I shouldn't have said sucker. All right. All right. Newbie. All right, like I said, we're all going to learn, right? All right, we're all going to learn. All right. So we get the next phase of hypersupply. Hypersupply is just the opposite of what we are now. That's when it's a buyer's market, right? There's so much supply out there, prices go down. That's when you buy low. You don't buy high, you buy low and you sell high, okay? And that's where hopefully or eventually the market does correct itself. We get that. And then we got the recession phase. No one likes that word recession, but recession is a place you go from being rich to wealthy if you can position yourself correctly. When everybody else is crying that the sky is falling, if you position yourself right during a recession, you can flat out get wealthy. All right, but it is what it is. Those are the real estate cycles. All right? So being that we're in an expansion stage right now, do you think Brother Earl is doing much wholesaling? I'm not. I can't find the deals. If I could find the deals, I'd be calling you guys. Right? All right, so guess what? Real estate is all about pivoting. Who's heard of lease options before? Who's done a lease option before? Ooh, lease options are very exciting. And the reason they're so exciting is because you can put so many pieces together that are win-win-win. What you can basically do is you can find deals not just in big markets, but in small towns. You can offer full price. What seller doesn't like full price? They just have to be flexible with the terms. A couple ways you can do lease options. You know, you can find the seller and find the tenant buyer and put them together. We call that an assignment and step out of the deal. Or you can stay in the middle. You can get an agreement with the seller where you're going to be in the deal for 3 to 5 years and you have the option of buying the property full price. While all of that is going on, you're marketing for a tenant buyer. A tenant buyer is going to be a person that agrees that in 1 to 2 years, they're going to buy the property. And by the way, they're going to give you an option deposit of 3 to 5%. What does that mean? It could be $5,000, it could be $10,000, depending on the price of the property. Who would do that? Well, a bunch of people. I would do that right now. Because you're going to have three types of buyers here. You're going to have a buyer like me. I can qualify for a loan, but I don't want to be in a bidding war. I'm not going to do that. Or you can have a buyer that doesn't qualify for the loan because they're self-employed. And those of us who are self-employed understand we got to have how many years of records? At least 2. Or you have people that won't qualify for the loan because they just don't have their credit rebuilt. So there's actually more people that fall into these 3 categories than they are cash buyers. So if you talk about opportunity, this opportunity is actually much bigger than our traditional wholesaling mindset. Okay? Why is the seller willing to do that? Well, the seller probably realizes that if their property has been on the market for 90 plus days and it's a seller market, there's something either wrong with their price or something wrong with their property. And if they're in a situation where they have multiple properties that they're juggling, they may want some relief. Okay, so why am I sharing this with you? Because this is a great strategy for the expansion stage. All right, full disclosure, I have made like 15 of these offers. I've gotten so close. I haven't got my first one yet, but I'm getting there. I'm getting there. But probably by the next time we come back together, I'm hoping to have my first one. But it's exciting because all you're basically trying to do is create a win-win situation. All right? So, excited about that. Excited about that. So, the last thing I wanted to share with you, Joe McCall has a great course on called Simple Lease Options. I would highly recommend anybody who's thinking about this to join his course, Joe McCall. Okay? Okay. Short-term rentals. Who's heard of these places called a Trip Advisor? Anybody? Anybody hear of Verbo? Anybody hear of Interhome? How about Airbnb? Has anyone ever booked one of these properties for themselves? Okay, all right. What kind of experience did you have?
It was awesome.
Awesome.
Ocean City, Maryland.
Nice. Who else had an experience? Yep.
Good experiences mostly.
Okay, mostly. All right. Nice, nice. Anybody else want to share?
Yeah, we had 2, one in Rochester City and one a little bit further out in Pinto. They were both great.
Awesome, awesome. So why would a person do someone's home as opposed to a traditional hotel? Who thinks they know? Less expensive sometimes, or longer stay, or sometimes much nicer, or it's children, right? I had you went there as well, Tony? Exactly. So there's a couple boxes that you can be put in. So one box, let's go medical, right? So if you're having like cosmetic surgery or something, and you got to go out of state, and maybe family members want to come support you, Airbnb, short-term rental might be a great move for you. All right, because you might want that seclusion. Maybe you are a visiting nurse. Our nurse, I have some friends that are nurses. Man, they're making more than doctors, but they're traveling all around the country because there's a scarcity of nurses. Maybe you're a military family. I just went out of town to see my son graduate from boot camp. We stayed in an amazing Airbnb, all right? I know it was actually from Verbo. Every room had a different theme. Had a horse theme, and my wife, she's really into all of that. But so here's the point. People are looking for experiences that don't fit the traditional norm. So, but here, I'm talking to you guys as an investors now. There's an opportunity. So here's the thought, okay? The type of short-term rentals that I'm learning about has a couple of rules. First rule is this: no locals. Why do you think that might be important? Parties. Parties are a no-no. They're a big no-no, all right? No rent moratorium concerns. Why would that be a big deal to people? All right? Lastly, there's little or no maintenance concerns. The 3 Airbnbs that I'm currently in, my landlord loves me, right? Because they don't do anything. When I moved in, I did the painting because it wasn't quite what I wanted. I am the perfect tenant. If there's a problem with the toilet, I take care of it. They love me because why? Because my motivation is I'm trying to give the guests I'm hosting an experience. And because I'm a business person, business people do what W-2 people don't do. All right? So if you're a landlord and someone's reaching out to you about potentially doing something like this, you're going to love them as a tenant. They're going to be zero maintenance. All right? So the ideal behind a strategy like this is they just got to be a 30-minute drive from something that's going on in your city. What goes on in Rochester? Tons. You got the Jazz Festival. We got the Lilac Festival. We got Strong Museum. What's that? Well, U of R owns everything right now, so right? I think U of R is like the #1 employer in the city. But you got to choose a strategy also that fits your business model. Personally, we don't do whole house bookings. We don't do it. We only want business travelers. So we personally do small rooms, private rooms. A visiting nurse, all they want to do is be able to get sleep. So we put like-minded people with like-minded people. Okay? And also, the screening process is amazingly more efficient. These online platforms have pumped millions into their system so they keep the bad elements out. So, me having insurance is no big deal because, hey, I'd rather have it than need it and not have it. Okay? Who's involved? Obviously, you have two scenarios, all right? You may be in a situation right now where you have property and you have tenants that are not paying. Well, first of all, God bless you. As soon as that situation straightens itself out, get their butt out of there. But you might want to consider this strategy. Start using your place as your short-term rental. Okay? All right, if you don't have property right now, lease it. Don't go buy it. Lease it. All right? There's tons of people in this audience that may have space if you're interested. Okay? The investor, you got to make sure your numbers work. You got to plan to make sure that you can actually have resources on hand, reserves on hand, if you can't maintain a 40 to 70% occupancy. Remember, this is a business. Okay? And finally, you just got to pick your lane. Business travelers versus leisure travelers. We only focus on business travelers. Okay? Who are the people I host? Military, government people. I said people from the university, professors. These are folks that are basically in town for a specific reason, and it's not partying. All right. Think about this. Which phase, which stage in the cycle will this model fit? Every one of them. Why? even during the pandemic, leisure traveling went down, but people still had to work. Business travelers still gonna travel. All right? So for the right person, this is a really, really attractive strategy. All right? And it brings me to my resource page. Any of these pages, any of these individuals that you see up here are investment programs that I've invested into. I dropped $50,000 to get a U of R degree. No one questioned that. So for me to drop another couple $1,000s to get a real estate education, it is what it is. All right, at this time, I want to say thank you. I think I'm under time, but I'm hoping that our conversation has generated some curiosity and we can have some questions and answers at this point. All right, who would like to go first? Yes.
You said you had 3 mentors, right?
Yep.
Who are your mentors?
People I pay tuition for, so I'm paying. Oh, well, okay. So I have a ton of mentors in this room, but for the tuition aspect of it, Joe McCall, who is Simple Lease Options, a guy who's local to Rochester, named James Graham, who teaches about short-term rentals, and virtual wholesaling. I was sharing with somebody in the back. There's a gentleman in Phoenix, Arizona, Jamil Damses. He has a program called Astro Flipping. So it teaches you how to remotely wholesale a property, which is really kind of cool. Yep. Yes, it is. All right. So for those people that just want to reach out to me, the last 3 digits are 39. 585-729-3039. Reach out to me. We can chat, talk it up. I do TikTok. I do know how to TikTok. Being a school teacher, you got to learn these things, right? I do Instagram. I actually post on Instagram every day. And I'll tell you, Facebook marketing, Facebook in general, is not just for old people. There's a lot of business that gets done on Facebook. So if you don't have like a person that is really a social marketing, if you don't have a person in your circle that knows social marketing, social media marketing, find someone. Find someone. Yep. That's what it is. All right. So much business can get done if you can use and leverage these platforms. All right. Cool. Was there any other questions that jumped out as we went through the presentation? I see this sir here and this young lady back here. Okay, ladies first.
So if you're starting out with the short-term rental, so say you pick up one, it's like the first thing you're doing, where are you finding the team to go in and like clean between clients? Are you doing that yourself until you've got enough saved up to then hire?
Sure, I would say until you're cash flowing, do it yourself.
Okay.
And you know, if you can get your numbers really tight, you should be cash flowing in your first 60 days.
Okay.
Yeah, and your point is really, really good one. If you don't do it yourself, then you hiring somebody makes no sense because you're not really able to give them the clear directions they need, and you're not sure if you're overpaying. Yes, sir.
Hey, what's your number one strategy for generating leads right now?
My number one strategies for generating leads, if I'm doing a wholesale strategy, it's still vacant property, doing text blast. And if it's lease option, it's still text blast. The only thing with lease options, I'm looking at properties that have expired, been on the market for over 90 days. Also for lease options, I'm only looking at really nice houses. My mentor refers to it pool houses and P houses. Pool houses are nice houses in nice neighborhoods. P houses are the vacant houses that I was making money on. So I always kind of look at 3 or plus bedrooms, at least $200,000 or more for the property. And out-of-state owners are always going to be more motivated than someone who's in state.
Is there certain LTVs you're looking for in lease options?
Well, so generally speaking, the first time you reach out to them is going to be, more of a, an introduction, and you're actually going to see deals on the follow-up side of it. So like all the work I put in up to this point, so it's been like priming the well. When I reach back out to them, here's the thing about vacant property. It costs money. Whether it's a nice house or whether it's a P house, it still costs them money. So, the fortune is always in the follow-up. I always believe that if you can find an out-of-state owner, if the property is vacant, those are the two big ones. Also, and this is a little bit of a hack, if you can find a property that's 3,000 square feet or more and the owner is above 70, that person might be looking to downsize. Great question. Anybody else? Sir.
Do you have any partners, and if you do, how did you vet them to make sure you could work with them, to make sure they were going to be honest?
Man, that's a great question. So those that know me know that I started out with two partners from the REIA group, and we had a really, really interesting run, nice run. We're still friends, and we parted company. So that's really a sore spot for me because I haven't figured it out yet. Now that I'm more autonomous, I'm kind of reluctant to get into a partnership. I'll get into like an alliance. Maybe we'll do one deal together. But a partnership almost feels like a marriage. And those of who are already married know that that's a day-to-day for some of us. So I haven't cracked that code yet. Yeah. Thank you though for asking. Yes, ma'am.
Well, I'm having a little trouble with the lease option because it seems sort of counterintuitive right now in that houses are selling, like you said, people are paying $50,000 more and they're bidding more and everything else. So how do you get a seller to want to do a lease option? They don't have to resort to it. Used to be that was more when they couldn't sell in markets where it was difficult to sell, then the owner was willing to do that kind of thing. Why would they be willing to do that today?
So if that only is true if it's move-in ready. If it's not move-in ready, work still has to be done on it. So yeah, right. So that's a big motivation. So if they've tried to sell the property with a realtor, and realtors know if this is going to move or not. So a lot of realtors will, put it on the market, let's see what happens. And if a ton of work needs to be done, I mean, and your point is true. I've gone into a lot of places that are, wholesale property, but they want retail prices for it. And again, if it's move-in ready, to your point, that's true. They wouldn't need to do that. But if there's work that needs to be done, even if it's in a nice neighborhood, people are not going to pay retail and have to put another $50,000 into a project. So it goes back to how do you find these people? So again, always an out-of-state owner is a lot more motivated to work with you than someone that just lives across town. Yes, sir. And yes, sir.
When you find a property, vacant property, whatever, that you're interested in, want to contact the owner, assuming you can find the owner, how do you, what ways have you found work best to find the company?
Okay, so there's a free way and there's a paid way. So for most of us, hopefully you're spending $99 for something called PropStream. PropStream allows you to put in an address, the owner pops up, their financials, because everything is county records. So then there's also it's called People Search or TrueSearch.com, where if you use PropStream to figure out what the mailing address is, not what the investment property address is, but where the mail is going. If you put it into that particular True Search software, it'll pull back everyone who's been at that address and their last known number. And you just basically look at PropStream to see if you can find a match. Another way of doing it, which costs couple pennies, 15, 30 cents, is do a skip trace. I use batch leads. Does anyone else have a vendor that they love? Who do you use?
I use the Sherpa still.
Lee Sherper? Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. All right. So another way to have it outsourced is if you got a bunch of properties you're trying to research is Pfizer. You can go on Pfizer. Most of these people live out of the country, and they're willing to do almost anything for you. They'll build lists for you. They'll skip trace for you. Andy's laughing because it's really a great way to outsource stuff. They'll build your website as well.
Is that like Fiverr?
What did I say?
You said Pfizer.
Fiverr is it. Fiverr. Yeah, I was trying to get close. But yeah, I like batch leads myself. Yep. Yes, sir.
Or do a lease option, the property have to be paid. You can't have a mortgage on it, correct?
No, right. Well, yeah. So hold on. It has to be a free and clear. Yep. It has to be a free and clear. And yeah. So if it's not free and clear, we're not talking lease options. We're talking more like a subject to, which is beyond the scope of this talk. Who does subject twos in here, by the way? That would be a great talk, though. No one's done subject twos in this room? Leon, you haven't done a subject two?
Absolutely.
So that would be a great talk. Because here's what my prediction is. With, as the market changes and when we get on the other side of this moratorium, we're getting ready to go into hyperinflation. Because we're just printing money out of thin air. So the dollar's value is truly going down. Right. Well, that's another conversation. I agree. My son does crypto. Yep, my son does. He's trying to educate me. So anybody who's over 40, learn about these digital currencies because they make sense. But to the point I was making, there's going to be a lot of people upside down. Ton of people upside down. Especially people who are overpaying for property right now. So understanding how to do a sub-2 transaction, man, is a really helpful tool. And for those that don't know sub-2s, does anybody not know what I'm talking about? A sub-2 is basically when a person doesn't own the property, but they still have payments to make on it. So what you can do is you can agree to take over their payments, but they keep the loan and sell you the property. So you take title of the property, the loan is still in their name, and what you can now do is take over that property, either rehab it and put it back on the market and flip it, or put some tenants in it. And as long as you've given the seller some sort of cash value, it could be $500, it could be $5,000, whatever works in your business model. It's legal. It's legal. Yep.
Most lenders won't allow that, will they? A lender.
It's called due on
Sale.
So I believe, and I'm not the expert on this, but I believe the workaround is to do like a wrap. That would be a very interesting topic. Someone who wanted to talk about sub-2 investing. But yeah, yep. All right. Any other questions? So again, as I talked about before, wholesaling is the gateway drug into real estate investing. And, you know, I'm sure all of us kind of come from a variety of vocations and backgrounds, but we all can agree, if you really want to leave something for people that are going to be here long after you, real estate is the vehicle to do that. So with that being said, thank you for your time. Okay. And I will pass the mic back to Leon.
Hope to see you back. You're not getting ready to leave, are you?
Okay. Okay, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
I know we just said thanks to Earl. Thanks again, Earl. Just going to a couple of quick items and then let folks get into networking. One of the key things that we do is sort of take a look at what the future meetings are. Earl got into a little bit of it. I had written myself some notes in the back that about a couple of things I wanted to cover. And one of the key things is, what is it that you would like to see in the way of future programs when we go into January of 2022. So I know we'll probably we've talked about doing some surveys and we'll probably do that, but I really, when Earl got into the discussion around subject to and what are subject tos and how do you actually do one, I mean, it was very common for folks that were doing real estate investing like 20 years ago. It was a very, very common item. And there was a question around due on sale. And yeah, you could spend a large portion of a good hour just talking about that and what do you do and what really happens. And so we won't get into that, but that subject to is a good example of something that maybe people want to know more about. So what is it that you want to know more about? And what I normally do is I say, well, send me an email or, you know, send me something so that, you know, I can know that that's a subject that people really want to talk about. But so, I mean, well, I would ask people to think about what you would like to see next year. And maybe if you got something jotted down, or we're going to do some networking in the next few minutes, and I'm going to be walking around and I'm going to ask every person, what is it that you would want to see us provide as a topic that you would really be interested in? So the last thing is, basically, they close down around 9 o'clock. So we have between now and 9 to actually do some networking. And the bar is open out there now. So if somebody wanted to get a drink, they could do that. But that's it. That's all that I had, other than to say thank you very much for coming. Look forward to seeing you again. And above all else, be safe. Thank you.